And that's the key there, Ali, is the key word is quick. You know, it can automate and provide me with a draft or a summary or information quickly. Will it take away what I do? No, you need to validate it still. You need to go through it. It won't take away my engagement with others, validation with others, activities with others, but it will speed up my administration, so to speak.
Welcome to the Inner Game of Change podcast, where we explore the thinking behind the doing of change. I am your host, Ali Juma. In this episode, we turn our attention to something that is reshaping every part of our work, artificial intelligence. Not as a headline or a fear, but as a companion in how we learn, decide, and lead. My guest, Joanne Rinaldi, brings a wealth of experience leading enterprise transformation and building centers of excellence that help people think and perform differently. She has spent years helping teams grow through change, not just manage it. Together, we explore what happens when AI moves from being a tool we use to a collaborator in our practice, what it means for judgment, empathy, and the human craft of change. Joanne calls it the Augmented Practitioner. Someone who lets AI handle the noise so they can focus on meaning. I am grateful to have Joanne speaking with me today. Well, Joanne, thank you so much for joining me in the Inner Game of Change podcast. It's so good to see you again after all of these years.
Ali, thank you for the invitation. Great to see you again.
Thank you. Just for you and for my listeners, the leading downloaded episode in my podcast, I think is nearing about 5,000, is actually your ATCA episode. So it's leading by a mile. Every single day there are a few hundred people listening to it. So at some stage we probably need to reimagine it and rethink it and re-record it. And that was 4 years ago. But today we're going to cover a topic that is relevant today, which is the intersection between AI and change management practice, looking at how AI hopefully can augment our practice, the augmented change manager practice. So when you hear the augmented change management practice, what does that mean to you at a higher level?
Great question. To me, it just means, how can I make it work for me? How does it serve me? And how do I play in that space, both from a creative, personal perspective, and then shift that into a professional perspective?
How currently are you using AI?
Where I am right now, quite a lot. So I'm on a steep learning curve. At the same time, outside of work, I've been utilising AI from a photography perspective, utilising it from a planning perspective. So in different ways for different reasons. Experiential more so in the workplace, saying, okay, I'm creating an agent. What do I want the agent to do? What do I need? So I'm going in with a curious mindset to really play in that space to get a good sense of, okay, do I have my prompting the way I need it to have? And I keep exploring, so I go into that space. Second, I go into what can I automate or create a draft or set something up that's going to help me and serve a purpose. Other times I just want to go in there with a bit of fun and say, how creative can I be and have a bit of fun with this? And what can I learn from that?
We have two movements happening at the same time. Yes. There's a change that is happening or impacting our own craft. And then there's a change that is impacting our stakeholders. The same change. How do you see this dance between us upgrading our craft, understanding the new change, so we can articulate that and help the stakeholders?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of key areas there. One, you want to really assess wherever your stakeholders at with engaging with you with AI. So understanding where their confidence and competency level may be. I tend to think there's a comfort area there. Second, how can you make that work with you from an engagement perspective? That's really important. So making it safe, making it simple, but understanding where they are first. That's like with any tool, to be honest. I tend to find it's important to understand where they are and then meet them to where you want them to be, but creating a safe space in order to do that.
Is it safe to say, Joanne, now that the majority of the workplaces in Australia are kind of at the start of this journey of the adoption?
Yeah, look, I would say yes, although it's highly dependent on what enablers do they have in the workplace. You know, do they have Copilot to the extreme? Do they have access to all the technology to help them do that? Do they have permission to then enable that? Different workplaces are at different levels, and it comes back to leadership, comes back to investment from a capability technological perspective, but also from a permission perspective. There is an element of compliance and safety and so forth. So there's the risk averse. So there's a lot of dynamics that you need to take into consideration as to what freedom do you have in order to utilize AI, and then how would you use that? What's the purpose? What's the outcome? From a change management perspective, is leveraging of what you have and don't have and utilizing it from there. So I tend to find, say, for example, in previous workplaces, more recently, didn't have the advanced tools like I would now. So it would actually not encourage me to take it to another level where I am right now I can. So I think it's really dependent on what you have access to.
For the change manager, well, first of all, what I'm seeing is that there's a level of consistency now in the workplaces that the majority are in the curious stage. Maybe some people are a little bit ahead, but they're not that far ahead. There's another variable also, that the technology itself is transforming on a daily basis. So whatever you've learned last year, chances are you would need to upgrade now. For example, Copilot as a capability, December 2023 was released. In January and February, I got hold of a license. And then it was very clunky. It was doing weird stuff. And I've learned it that way. And then today, Copilot is a very well-oiled machine, very seamless experience. So can you see here that, I'll give you another example. I have trained people last year on Copilot, personally myself.
Yes.
But I also have trained groups last month. I think the groups last month are far more advanced than the groups that I trained last year. The problem that many organizations will have with the change management aspect is that how do you keep upgrading the skills of your people when the technology keeps changing on a daily basis? I think that stability will only happen in the technology. Maybe it's going to take another couple of years in there. Let's just play with this for a second. Let's just look at ADKAR as a framework. Where do you see AI can help with all of these stages? Just throw at me some example.
Okay. From an awareness perspective, okay, we're aware that it's there. We're aware of the opportunity to go in and utilize in some shape or form. I'll give you an example. Recently, coming into a program of work, And in SharePoint, there's a whole lot of folders, a lot of information. I've come in deep into an existing program of work. And it takes some time to be brought up to speed on knowing where this program of work is at, and then where do you take over from where it's existing. Streams of folders, lots of information, lots of data, lots of, I guess, movement and progress that has been made to date.
Yes.
And just by setting up an agent on all those folders to provide me with a summary of current state and then to generate next steps. I mean, I'm simplifying it clearly because I went through a few prompts to breaking it all down.
Yes.
Brought me up to speed to a level that would have taken days with different team members to get a good sense of where it's at. So was it an answer? Well, no, not necessarily. It didn't stop me from engaging with team members and so forth and, you know, what worked well and even better if. So the awareness that was there, my desire to go in and generate and play and go through the prompting to get the summaries and the next steps and etc. The knowledge, well, I had some knowledge, although I had to prompt a few times before I really started to get what I wanted, and then I went to the next level from there. Action steps and recommendations. I would dare say from the ability part, I validated that with team members around me.
Yes.
Reinforcement, you bet. I'm going to be doing this with other folders and other, you know, SharePoint spaces, etc. But it gives you an opportunity to say, yes, I will repeat this. Where there's a chance to go in and do this again from a different perspective, getting summaries, understanding, you know, current state of play as an example. And that's one of many examples, but how valuable was that?
Yeah. I do find it, well, first of all, it's a caveat that I used to call this professional wisdom, which is AI is not going to be able to replace your judgment in many ways. Or maybe in the future it can. I mean, it's going to be more insightful probably. But there's always this sense of uniqueness that each human has got that I'm not too sure if AI will always be able to replicate that. The way I look at it for the change management, it's efficiency is basically an entry point for it. But really where you're getting is your situational awareness, is that it gives you that speed and the collection of information and the synthesizing of the insights so you can make better decisions faster. So, for example, you know, you've got a new software and you want to help the organization or any organization to adopt it. In the past, you'll probably take days to do some research and all of that. If ever you do research externally, you're going to rely on a business case. Nowadays, you've got an agent that can look at the software, compare it with other organizations, compare it with the outside world, come back to you with applicability to your situation, gives you whole ideas about some of the friction points that can happen as part of the adoption. So can you see the picture here has actually prepared me and with that full awareness. And I think that is actually the magic about this capability. Not only about the change itself, obviously you can apply the same lens to your stakeholders. What worked, what didn't work in the past, it can give you all of that information very quickly.
And that's the key there, Ali, is the key word is quick. You know, it can automate and provide me with a draft or a summary or information quickly. Will it take away what I do? No, you need to validate it still. You need to go through it. It won't take away my engagement with others, validation with others, activities with others, but it will speed up my administration, so to speak, from that perspective. It was interesting because it wasn't too long ago I was running a session with some project managers and we were creating, I guess, what I would define like a change on a page micro canvas. And as we were running this activity together, and I was helping them to say, okay, when you're engaging with stakeholders, you want to get their language, their words, etc. And I said, let's provide an example. So I asked for inclusive words. And I said, here's a quick way of doing it. Pull out your phone, who here has ChatGPT of some shape or form, go in there and ask for a list of inclusive words when it comes to change. And they all did. So they went on there and had their words of inclusive words, we, us, etc. I said, now type them into the chat and etc. So we worked through that way. And I incorporated that in the activity. So utilising something simple like a ChatGPT, etc., to do that. I also showed them that it was safe.
Yeah.
It's not about you having all the answers. Yes, you would have come up with the answers in the end, but we all jammed together and we did an AI, jam session, so to speak. So in a way, it was inclusive, it was generating ideas, it was providing some information, but it was a quick way of doing it. Even another time, we created a visual. I said, okay, we want to create a visual of what does someone look like when they're happy about the change that's coming down the pipeline. So type in desire. What does desire look like when it comes to change? And what does frustration look like? So we did visuals from that perspective. So again, where we can automate and generate together, I just find it's a sense of fun. And when you do it with others, it makes it safe. Hey, it's okay, we're doing this. We're learning at the same time, but I'm enhancing that curious mindset.
Yeah.
So in a way, as a change practitioner, I want to enhance what I do through all technologies that I have around me.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it's, Mentimeter, through running activities and polls and so forth, AI is no different. That's a part of the tool of the trade from that perspective. As a craft, sure, there are programs of work. There are new systems and processes that are coming in that have levels of automation, sophistication, analysis, etc., and recommendations that are coming into many organisations, whether it's a new HR system of some sort, a recruitment, a capability system, and so on. That then is just the next level when it comes to change. It's like any system that comes into the workplace, you're overlaying change and adoption and performance with that system. It just so happens that now it has a level of AI and automation incorporated in that. So it makes no difference from a change practitioner from that perspective. You're just including that as a part of the change overall. And the AI literacy is that level of comfort that people are familiar or not familiar with.
We've been advocating for change management as a practice for long years now. We always wanted a seat at the table, the symbolic table. And I think it's important for all the change management community now to be ahead of the game. You should not be the same as your stakeholders. I think we should be ahead. Technology is always ahead of us. We should be slightly ahead of our stakeholders to understand the technology, understand to adopt it ourselves, and understand how it's going to impact the workplace. We're still the captain of our call. We still make the calls and the decisions as a human in the loop in here. But here are some ideas for you, and then you can critique me on them. That seat at the table, if I don't get it, probably in today's age, does not matter. Probably. Why? Because I've got a capability now that can compensate for me not being there by getting a lot of analysis, synthesizing of information, research, historical data. I can get all of that. So that's one thought that I've been thinking about. And the other impact, a new entry-level change managers joining their community, I think they are coming in a golden age as well. I think they are coming in an age where this capability can fast forward their experience. I can sit with my ChatGPT or Copilot. I can build a full context with it to say, I changed career, and then I'm actually a change manager now, and I'm going to be working with this particular client. I can guarantee you within an hour, the capability will actually give me a 360 view about what I need to do and when I need to equip myself and what challenges I'm going to be facing. And not only the challenges, also ideas and plans to mitigate those challenges. What's your take on that?
Yeah. Look, if it can speed up a impact assessment, yep. If it can speed up and give me an analysis a lot quicker than it would normally take to have, people do that with me in a team. Again, it comes back to that speed.
Yeah.
Is it as accurate as individuals? You can question that because I still think it requires validation anyway, whether it's a human intervention validation or otherwise. And that's no different. Even if humans were doing it, still want to validate it within a team. I think it adds to our craft. I don't think it would replace what we do because we still need engagement. We still are humans. We still need the interaction. We still need conversations. That's a given. It's more like, okay, am I creating a team of agents that are going to be fast-tracking a lot of the work that I do? Yes. But what does that fast track look like? Does it mean that we're going to get to end state on a change quicker? Not necessarily. So there's a lot of dependencies there. The key thing is really understanding what are the success indicators that we're looking for when it comes to utilising AI as a part of our craft.
Yeah.
That's the only way I want to look at it. I think, too, is to link AI solving pain points, not replacing people.
Yeah.
So what are those pain points that it's solving for me? And I can recognise and reward those experimentation, data-driven decisions, etc., that's going to help me make as I move forward. So in a way, it's probably not taking anything away from me of what I naturally do. It's just adding value from a speed perspective, creating drafts for me. Is there an opportunity that one day it will replace my role? Well, no, not if I grow my role. So it gives me an opportunity to say, what becomes my focus point of my future role? Like recently, I loaded my job description in, let's call it ChatGPT, loaded up my job description. I said, okay, have a look at all these competencies, etc., and provide me with a future focused of 3 years from now and 5 years from now, or what skill sets would change and what learning would I need to do and invest in moving forward, and what would change management role look like in the future, incorporating change. So it gave me some interesting data to look at overall. It enhanced my role and it grew my role to a different level. It didn't take away anything other than more of the administration, more of the analysis, bringing back to speed. But it gave me more insight into say, okay, where do I want to focus? Where do I want to learn? So it's like, if anything, we want to evolve, not delete.
Yeah. It's the question that I posed to a number of project managers last week. If AI frees up 30% of your time, how would you spend that time? Well, I'm still sitting on the fence if it's going to replace some people's jobs. But I strongly believe that if you're a subject matter expert or an experienced professional with this capability, I think you can add more value. And that value will actually be transformed into something else. In our situation, we've always wanted the time to have meaningful conversations, to help with more learning, to coach teams on change adoption without being hurried up by the project manager for time and and all of that. The other thing that I think it could give us, and yes, Some people say, oh, you mean, Ali, that I need to do more work? You probably can do more work. The other thing that I think it can add value to us as a community is that you can service more than one client at the same time. And therefore, you actually double your value. I think gone are the days when you're going to have one change manager for one project or even two projects, a small one and a big one or medium size, whatever you want to call it. I think with this capability, you can actually manage multiple ones, knowing that you can create a couple of agents plus the generative AI capability. I think you've got an army around you to actually manage a number of projects at the same time. I'm not dreaming because I've actually been doing this over the last 12 months in there. But it can border on that I'm actually busy. But the busyness is actually adding more value to the organization in there. Yeah.
That's an interesting way of looking at it because, creating agents in the sense of saying, okay, I have 3-4 agents that are doing a good portion of my work.
Yes.
Therefore, I can take on more.
Mm-hmm.
So what is it that I'm taking on? In a sense, exactly what you said, I'm taking on more projects. Creating a workforce in the sense of saying, okay, strategic level, planning level, it doesn't take anything away from me other than creates other opportunities. So enhances there. And not even from a change management perspective, you can look at it from all different sorts of roles, right through from administration, auditors, finance, HR, etc. So it expands that capability to another level. I think the fear, I don't have any fear in the sense of, AI is going to take anything away from me. In fact, if anything, it's going to elevate opportunities to add to my craft, whether it's, elements of creative design, elements of, I want to shape something into another area and I'm leaning in on AI just as much as I'm leaning on experts in certain areas, and I'm treating AI as a semi-expert in that pool at the same time. I think overall it's an opportunity to really play in this space, get an understanding and your own confidence as an individual, and look at it then also from a professional perspective and what does it mean with others.
Yes.
I like sitting down with, designers and HR experts, recruiters and so on, and say, how does this shape? What does this look like for us in our craft? And how do we work together? How do we make technology and AI work for us in what we're doing, but also holistically, not just independently? Because when you're dealing with stakeholders and you're working with others, it's a large program of work as an example. And you have finance involved, you have IT involved, you have HR, capability teams, etc. And you're all working together and we're all utilising the same sort of tools in a different way to say, okay, how are we now leveraging this for the speed of adoption overall? It's quite a fascinating space to be in. And I'm sure you're having the same conversations with your stakeholders as we speak, Ali.
I think I'm beyond the conversation. I'm in the business of showing them what it does now.
Yes.
And I want to touch on a couple of things. The reason why I think this is going to help us add more value, you just mentioned something really important, which is the compound effect on an organization when you deliver better experience and better value. You actually literally fast forwarding their progress. I strongly believe, and I'm coaching a group of change managers and project managers together currently. I've showed them, and I've used Copilot to actually analyze 10 of their last projects. 95% of the projects had an overrun in time and cost. So I said to them, with this capability, could it eliminate one of these issues for you? Because then the whole idea of if you have an overrun in time, that means you haven't really planned it properly, or lots of variables in there. you haven't really anticipated a lot of issues that will come your way. So perhaps this capability can give you the headlights foresight that you need to have before you embark on that journey. And imagine the impact and the value for an organization when you meet all of those constraints. The other thing that I want to touch on is that all of us complain in many ways that we don't have a lot of runway for adoption. And so we train people and then we move on from the knowledge to ability, and then reinforcement, God, that's a couple of weeks, and then we move on to another project. Could this capability help us to manage the front end faster so we can actually invest time later? Or could this capability help us manage the reinforcement for previous projects that we really managed by enabling those management teams to use the capability, and therefore it's not going to have a huge impact on their time? Because remember, everybody's saying, I don't have time. And then we say to them, perfect, we've got this capability for you that will help you have time. The question I want to ask you is that, where do you stand if a change manager uses all of the capability to help them with their work? How comfortable are they to actually go to their stakeholders and say, I have used the technology and this is the product of my use of technology? Where are we at as a practice? Do we feel comfortable to say, I've utilized a couple of agents and ChatGPT and I've done my research and I'm comfortable with my research, or we don't say anything about it?
Yeah. And you know what? It's almost at an individual level. Me, personally, I'm comfortable because I'm using that to engage, to have the conversation, to validate, to work together on the analysis that's been provided. I also have to know my stakeholder too.
Yes.
Because there are some stakeholders that may not be that comfortable or confident or competent for even that matter.
Yes.
In compared to others. So I need to know that. I need to know where their level of confidence and comfort levels are in order for me to have that conversation.
Yeah.
I think it's powerful. And I think from that perspective, it shouldn't be a disabler, it should be an enabler. And truly, this is where we are heading more towards anyway. So to generate information and all that content, you're still going in to say, okay, I'm going to engage with you based on this, as opposed to, for example, lessons learned. How many times do we do lessons learned at the end of a project? And we engage with individuals, we get into a room, we go through this, 10,000 sticky notes, go through all the different sections, et cetera, and then what happens to most lessons learned? They get stored into a file and probably most of the time never be seen again. But can you imagine if we had 10 lessons learned of the last 10 projects, aggregated all the, themes of what really worked and what didn't, what were the constant themes, generate within minutes an outcome, and then go in and say, hey, 10 projects, this is what we aggregated through, AI. This is what it came back. Let's have a look at this now. So now we've taken what could have taken a long time, it's been done before, all in one room together. The last 10, these are the common themes, and have a conversation based on that, as opposed to one project, 1,000 sticky notes, and a level of, I guess, personal bias even taken away in a sense to say, okay, now let's have a real conversation moving forward. I think that's powerful. Then if I think of awareness for the next project, wow, look at all the lessons learned on the last 10 that's been aggregated in minutes, and we've had conversations based on that. I tend to think it's adding valuable context for us as professions, but also from a capability moving forward. I tend to find that, to me, is more exciting of a conversation than having one, 2 hours lesson learned on one project that may not move or progress from there. I still think it's the way we use it.
lessons learned, that's actually an ongoing exercise. I've showed the project group maybe a month ago. I don't need to meet every 3 weeks and then have a long-winded, 90 minutes. And I said to them, ask Copilot, you've recorded all of these meetings, and ask Copilot at the end of each meeting, give me a couple of things that I need to be aware of and move on. So you learn, you don't just wait and then learn later. You learn as you go, and corrective action would need to happen. I'll share with you an example, and I think it's part of I'm driving an ethical way to share with my stakeholders where the boundaries are. I actually share with the stakeholders what information I've asked generative AI to collect on them, publicly available information, and then how I'm using it as well, and how I validate it. I think, and many people appreciated and I explain why I need to do that. That's part of my transparency. I'm collecting data on my stakeholders, and therefore they need to be aware of it. There were 2 examples over the last few months when I did this, and I actually shared with them. And I said to them, and by the way, you need to correct your information, the publicly available information, because it's not accurate. Like one of them was still saying they are the COO of an organization. And they're not aware of that, but that's come up in the analysis. It's almost like an ethical way to manage the change using this capability. And I think that's a new lens that we need to look at. And absolutely, I would like to share with them what I've done with the generative AI. That's my way of indirectly nudging them that they need to feel comfortable with the technology.
Yeah, I totally agree. This is where, again, it's the level of conversations that you come in with based on the information that you have that's going to help dictate that. And I think that's the space that we're creating as a part of highlighting everyday uses to build that confidence with your stakeholders, and sharing the stories to say, oh, okay, well, this is what we have here. It's no different had we done this with a group of people.
Mm-hmm.
It's just we're doing it quicker. We're doing it with more content and more information.
Looking ahead, in the next couple of years, hopefully we will meet again. Where do you think we will be then? Will the capability be part of the business as usual for us and an expectation?
Look, without a doubt. I think it'll be part of the workforce DNA. It's no different to many other systems that we've brought into the workplace in the past. I remember even from learning management systems, when they first came in, I was going to take away face-to-face learning, etc. Well, no, actually, it didn't. It just introduced another channel, another avenue for learning. I think this is introducing another channel, another avenue at an extreme level, from an automation perspective, from an analysis perspective, from perhaps even a strategic perspective, but to adding value, taking what we do today to another level. I think overall reinforcing the behaviours is to recognise and reward experimentation and data-driven decisions. I think that's going to add to that. To what level? I don't have the crystal ball, but I'm definitely curious to know what that would look like.
And I'm very curious and excited at the same time, thinking about the possibilities for this. Do you think at some stage that organizations will mandate using things like generative AI?
Oh, mandate is a strong word.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to think encourage as opposed to mandate, but I think it will be changed by design within existing systems and workflows and processes moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
So I truly believe it will be intrinsically within what we do rather than, oh, you have to. I think it'll be embedded within.
The reason why I'm asking this question, I've already seen this
There you go. Yes.
I've already seen it in the world, and I've seen it in discussion forums. And actually, some of it makes sense. If you're a project team and you've got a very limited number of resources,
yes,
it becomes an expectation that if you're going to join my team, I'm going to train you. I'm going to equip you with the technology. So I do expect you to use the technology to the best of your ability to deliver the value and the service. I am expecting that at some stage it'll become part of the expectations.
yes.
But I am at the same time with you that adoption organically will happen and the value will be realized. And at some stage, we've seen it many, many times now. If my colleague is already using it and they celebrated a success, I'll be very curious about it. I've also seen that there's not a lot of philosophical resistance around it. Maybe that was a couple of years ago, but yeah. I'm seeing that particular topic and issue has been neutralized, mainly because that's the go and this technology is not going to go away. So people started realizing that. Somebody shared with me their philosophical view around they don't want to use certain platforms because they think they've stolen already a lot of open source literature and all of that. And my advice to them, and they were not my current client, they actually were outside, and then I was in a forum. And my advice to them is that don't lose your philosophical view on it. But at the same time, do not lose the opportunity to explore it. So I think you mentioned at the start, give yourself the permission to explore it. But certainly you are an individual. Of course, keep your philosophical views about it. All of us are in the business of servicing others. And if I think the others will be disadvantaged by me not using the technology, then I'm not doing my job properly.
Yeah. And I think in a sense, overall, Ali, is create a simple AI adoption framework.
Mm-hmm.
So, define the purpose, align AI adoption with business values and people outcomes.
Exactly.
Co-design with users, involve them early to reduce the fear and increase ownership. Simplify the processes. So use human-centered design to integrate AI naturally into workflows. Communicate the why. So link AI to solving pain points, not replacing people. And then the last is to reinforce the behaviours, recognise and reward experimentation and data-driven decisions in that space. So that's kind of enabling a cultural change of AI by utilising and creating a simple AI adoption framework.
I love it. We are coming to the end of the podcast as usual. Time flies with you, Joanne, and then I'm really enjoying this conversation. I am learning a lot, and you can hear it in my voice. I get excited about this because I've heard this the other day that the whole world is going into change management, and with this capability, and then I think our practice is in the front seat to actually help organizations lead it, as long as we give ourselves the permission to explore and be slightly ahead of the game, meaning invest a little bit in your capability as a professional to lead organizations and enable them.
Have a curious mindset, have fun, and keep learning.
Curious mindset, have fun, and keep learning. Great way to close this episode with you, Joanne. I hope I can get you back again, maybe in 12 months' time, and we have a sort of a checkpoint and see where things are at with AI. Until next time, stay well, Joanne, and thank you.
Thank you. Pleasure and great to see you again. I'll see you in 12 months.
Thank you.
Hi there. I am ChatGPT, back again with my review of this conversation between Ali and Joanne on the inner game of change. Ali, in his usual engaging and curious mind, drew out a conversation that felt both practical and hopeful. Joanne met him right there, with honesty, humility, and a good dose of curiosity herself. Together, they explored how AI is changing the rhythm of change work, not replacing it, but reshaping where our time and attention go. Both agreed that speed is only useful when guided by sense-making, that AI can take care of the drafting and the admin, but meaning still belongs to humans. It was a dance between optimism and discernment, between what we can automate and what we must still feel. Joanne's line, "It adds to our craft, it does not replace it," could have been the headline for the whole episode. It echoes earlier inner game themes, from leverage points to map versus territory, all reminders that tools are only as wise as the hands that use them. Ali's reflections tied it beautifully together, that the real opportunity is not in faster outputs, but in deeper judgment, empathy, and creativity. So here is my takeaway. When curiosity leads, adoption follows. AI might make the work lighter, but the heart of change is still human. I would love to hear your thoughts. What did you take from this episode? Share your reflections, your experiments, your own inner game. I am looking forward to more of these conversations that keep stretching how we think about understanding and adopting change. Right here with Ali on the Inner Game of Change. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and let the machines do the paperwork.
Thank you for listening. If you found this episode valuable, remember to subscribe to stay updated on upcoming episodes. Your support is truly appreciated. And by sharing this podcast with your colleagues, friends, and fellow change practitioners, it can help me reach even more individuals and professionals who can benefit from these discussions. Remember, and in my opinion, change is an enduring force, and you will only have a measure of certainty and control when you embrace it. Until next time, thank you for being part of the Inner Game of Change community. I am Ali Jama, and this is the Inner Game of Change podcast.